Welcome to the Moms Makin Dough podcast. I am your host, Kendra Hewitt, and today I am so excited. We are on module 2 of my summer school series, which is designed to help you speed up in this season of summer instead of slow down and lose momentum going into fall. So these are bite-sized episodes that give you a glimpse into one of my group coaching programs I am leading this summer. And it is my opportunity to share some of the stuff we're working on, give you some of the exercises to do. So no matter where you are in your business, whether you are starting from scratch or you're building a brand that needs a little bit of remix or a makeover, I like to say this is where the magic will happen in step module number 2. So, the title of this episode is going to be Package It Pretty and Price It Powerfully. So, I have to admit, this is probably packaging products and offers is they go hand in hand, and it is probably one of my most favorite things to do. I find that it is one of the most intimidating things for not only seasoned business pros but also for people that are starting from scratch, of just like, how do I package and position and most of all price my products and services. So we're going to be looking at both aspects, like I said, starting from scratch and or giving a makeover to something that you might already have in your product suite. So if you didn't listen to module number 1, which was last week's episode 26, I encourage you to do so, because we talked about creating a passionate and purposeful product. So you want to really dive in and do those exercises first in an ideal scenario, but you can certainly take away a lot from what I'm going to cover today, and walk through and do your homework for part 2. So this specific episode is going to be broken into 3 parts, because it's actually a 3-step process that I do for this specific module. And the first part is going to be the art of the package. And I like to say, yes, even digital products can be really sexy. So, or we will work on making them sexy. And I like to say, you have a gift to give to the world, something that changes lives. And now it's your time and your opportunity to look at, how do you want to wrap it up to present it. I am a huge person on, like, I love presentation of the product, of whatever you're delivering. So these are the things that we're going to start with when we ask in this part of the model, the art of the package, I call it. We'll walk through putting a big fancy bow on it. And there's 3 questions I have my coaching clients that I'm working with go through in this module. Number 1 is, you're going to ask, what is the transformation you want your offer to deliver? And for the sake of today's episode, I'm going to use an example of a very good friend of mine, and client, who we've been working through. She's a personal trainer, and we're working through packaging some of her offers. And obviously, her goal is to stop trading time for money in terms of getting more one-on-one clients and start to offer something else. So I'm going to walk you through the process and the conversation we had just about packaging. And this is always the first question I ask a person when we're starting to look at offers and packaging is, what's the transformation you want to deliver for your ideal client? Now, if you are a seasoned business, you probably already have clients. And when I ask this question, I'll also ask, who's that ideal client that just popped in your head? Like, we all have that one client that we're like, this is the person I'm designed to serve. And what is the transformation you want to see happen? Now, that transformation usually does consist of 2 parts. The first part is going to be the external. So, in the personal trainer example, what's the number one thing that people are coming to you for? It's probably, if you're a female, losing weight, gaining back self confidence. So the losing weight would be the external thing. That's the external transformation they want to see happen. They want to lose weight, which is very broad and abstract. Don't worry, we're going to tailor it down. And then the internal thing is like a lot of people are not able to say it this way when they first start working with someone, but they want to create self confidence. So if we're looking at the personal training example, is like the transformation you want to deliver is I want to help my clients lose weight and gain confidence. The more concise you can get it, just for this part of the exercise, the better. You can always elaborate with my group. We do a lot of elaborating and group share because of this, because the downloads just start coming when we do. So, then the next question I have them ask themselves is, what's the one problem that you really have become ninja at solving for your clients? And if you're starting from scratch and you don't have clients, then you want to vision cast what's that person's problem that you would want to solve. And let me give you a little hint on this one. This is usually a problem you had and then now you have a solution to. So then now you want to offer it. When it comes to my business coaching, a lot of what I focus on is teaching women how to pay themselves more while working less. Why? It was the biggest problem and hardest thing for me to start to understand is paying myself first and how I did that process. And so to buy back my time, really, like that's reality is like that's my thing. That's the transformation I want every single client I work with to have is that I want them to pay themselves more by working less and have more time for the things that matter to them. So the one big problem I solve is like people don't pay themselves enough or they don't know how to. And then that's when it comes to business coaching. But when it comes to personal training, we're going to stick with that example today is that your big problem that you're solving is like a lot of people they are inundated with information but they've tried a haphazard approach to all these different things. Let's take the transformation of losing weight, the goal of the transformation to be losing weight, and so they are super confused and they just need you to tell them what to do and they will do it and they're willing to pay for that advice, expertise, and accountability. So, what's that one big problem you have that you want to solve for your clients? And if you do have clients, if you already have clients, you probably have a lot of data to support. Hey, what's the one? Like, if I look across 10, 15, 200 clients, what's the thing, the biggest problem I solve that they need? Do they stay up at night? Do they eat late at night? Have they lost their mojo? Are they getting divorced because there's no intimacy in their marriage because they have no self confidence anymore? Do they want to be alive for their kids and they're afraid of where their health's taking them? What's the big problem that's keeping them up at night? I love to ask it that way. Like, what's the one big problem that keeps your client up at night? And then you want to look at how you combine these two questions. What's the transformation I want to deliver? And then what's the one big problem I solve or that a lot of my current clients have in common that they come to me for? And how do I name and frame it? I like to call it. So, name and frame means like, how do I position this as an offer and that they are going to want to say, yes, please, if they are the right person for your offer and the service that you do that provides the solution to the problem they have. So those that is part number 1 is just the art of the package, asking those 2 compelling questions to get you thinking. And here's what you might be opening the door to at this stage is that we'll go the personal trainer route. And I love to say this is that on the personal trainer side is this is where you can start to when you have the answer to these 2 questions. If you have client transformations, you can, like I said, look across them and see the patterns. You might be queen of booty building, like you might be really good at that. You might be awesome at posture correction, and they are going to get those, maybe those 2 things. You might be killer. You might be a person that has lost 100 pounds, and that might be what you want your transformation to be is like you help women lose 100 pounds or more and keep it off, right? That's the transformation because that is also worked in the problem, which is they need to lose weight. And that is what keeps them up at night. Why can't they lose weight, right? And then what you want to do here is you also want to start to think about, like I said, maybe it's you are a expert, personal trainer example still, at creating awesome abs. Maybe that's not your forte. Maybe it is rebuilding your core postpartum. Whatever it is, the more clear and clarity you can build around the asking yourself these two questions when it comes to packaging your product, the better off you will be, and the more clients that you want to reach will line up to say, yes, please. And that brings us to part number two, which is reverse engineering the pricing model. And before we get to the pricing, we have to look at like the ditching the spaghetti on the wall approach. I think when you're first starting in business, a lot of people generalize and they'll say, who's your ideal client? And you'll say, anybody that will pay me, right? Which is, we all start there, but then we don't stay there hopefully long. If you're listening to this podcast, chances are you do not have that mindset at all. We want to start high. I like to start high on the reverse engineering and then work our way down because you are building a ladder of a product offering and a package for it, not a maze. And it is so easy for us to get into a maze where we start and stop or don't leave things incomplete, no follow through. And we just get lost in the maze instead of climbing up this ladder that we're about to create. So I want you to think about part two is reverse engineering your offer stack. So if you are a personal trainer, I'll give you an example. We're gonna start with your top shelf offer. So this is going to be your one-on-one. This is your high touch. There is custom design at a really premium price here, right? Because we're not looking in this offer stack to trade time for money. We are looking to leverage your expertise, your clients, and the problems and transformations you deliver, the problems you solve, the transformations you deliver to create this offer stack. So the offer stack, first one is the top shelf, is like, what is your premium high ticket offer? Now, for some people, some of my clients, a high ticket offer is $500. Other clients I have is $5,000. So it can be a big range on what high ticket means to you, but this is your top shelf offer. This is the not the Patron. This is the Azul tequila, right? And we're looking at like, I hope that I know Patron has a higher end line, but like I'm thinking about the like blue, beautiful packaged, blue and white package bottle, like tequila. Yeah, I think it's called tequila Azul. And I don't even know who makes it. I just buy it for my husband. He loves it. So that's your top shelf offer. I kind of think of like the metaphor of the top shelf liquor. And then their second tier is going to be your mid-tier maven, I like to call it. And this is where I find you get the most traction because this is typically a hybrid or a group offering where you are balancing a offer that entails support and scalability at a mid-tier pricing level. So in the personal trainer example, if we're looking at their top shelf offer is one-on-one customized training program, including use of an app and a custom program made for them. Maybe they have a custom macro, um, prescription they're following on that top shelf. In the mid tier, we're looking at like this is a hybrid. So I'm in a group. I'm in a group of other women that are also have a similar goal and desire, a similar transformation they are chasing, and a similar problem they're looking to solve. Hence, part number one. So this might be, hey, run small group training programs and it's limited to 2 to 5 women. And the price is lower because you're in a group. But it also, I can't customize the programming for each one of you in the group, but I can give you general group programming that you can also follow on your off days when you're not in the physical group. And I probably also will give you like a generalized eating plan. Like, hey, I want you to hit your protein in grams protein in your body weight for your body weight, whatever your body weight is. Currently on the quest to the transformation of the losing weight. We're going to stick with that one as an example because I think that's a really easy one for people to understand. And it's going to be priced differently. Like I said, I'm going to be in a small group. So I'm not getting that customized, focus, one-on-one energy. I'm not getting that prescriptive macro plan that I need to follow. I'm also not getting the check-ins that I get one-on-one with you because the check-ins happen in a group setting. Maybe it's a once a week group call where there's all of you. And in the group level, you also see a strong desire for community. But then you also, this is where the hybrid comes in, have the opportunity to potentially upsell them to your high ticket offer in the future. So that's just level 1 and 2. So your top shelf, your mid-tier maven, and then it's your intro, right? So I like to think about, I have no idea why this alcohol, I am not a big drinker. Example is coming up for me, but it's like I think about this as like this is your house tequila, right? So this is, you order the skinny margarita, and when you order that skinny margarita, they say what kind of tequila do you want, and you just say whatever's on the house, right? Whatever they is their well. I think they often refer to it in bartending. So this is your intro. I call it the intro cutie. This is your entry level where it usually does have a cost associated to it in most cases, especially if you're going to have a low tier offer. I mean, a higher tier offer. Maybe it's access to your app, but you don't do any personalization in it. Maybe it just includes access to a Facebook group where people can ask questions and you get on there once a week and you do a live where you do a Q&A. Maybe they get a bunch of digital downloads. And let's talk about like even, and we're going to segue into pricing, but I'm going to use these examples of how we're going to price even these 3 offers. But this offer stack, this basic offer stack, now you can do this across multiple parts of your business, right? But this is your baseline here, is that if you are looking to package, and let's say you have different parts of your business, this is something, an exercise you want to do to every part of your business. So let's say, like I said, in the personal training, we're talking about one-on-one training, group training, not generalized programming. And then we're talking about like following an app, no accountability, but just a little bit of like get them started mode. And the best example I can give you of this is I used to be a big avid CrossFitter, and I think about it this way in terms of the tiers. So if my intro cutie is going to be working out at home, right? So working out at home, following CrossFit's website programming, right? Which is generalized, put up there every day. It's completely free, right? But I could then take the next step would be, hey, I could join a CrossFit gym or a personal, like a gym that has group classes. So I'm paying a monthly membership. I'm going to these group classes. It's generalized programming, but it's the next tier, that mid-tier level. And then staying with that fitness example, if I wanted to, let's say I start getting pretty good at CrossFit, or let's say even I really realize that like I've hurt my back in the past, and I really want to learn how to deadlift my body weight. But I know that unless I get some personalized programming and personalized eyes on me, that the chances of me actually deadlifting my body weight without hurting and fucking myself up is very slim unless I get some customization. Meaning, for 4 weeks, I want you to deadlift this amount, and then we're going to progressively overload you. And then I'm going to watch you, or you're going to video it and send it to me. And I'm going to give you specific things I want you to work on based on your personal customized plan that I've created to reach your personal goal, which is going to bring you to the third part of packaging it pretty and pricing it powerfully, which is the price part. So I like to say this is strategies on how you price like a CEO and not just like spaghetti on the wall, like I said about before. We're not playing the charge what you're worth game here. Like, this is not an arbitrary number where you say my expertise is priceless and I've spent this much money to get to this point. We're charging what your results are worth. And ultimately, when it comes to you as the business owner, we are funding your personal financial freedom. From both a money, in this case, excuse me, a money perspective, but also a time perspective. We're taking both into account because let's face it, those are two of the resources that we need and we can't get back. Our time, we can always, I like to say, make more money. So this is where we get much more strategic of not, like I said, getting stuck in the I need to charge what I'm worth game, throwing spaghetti on the wall. And instead, we have data like a CEO to make pricing decisions. So here's the steps we're going to follow to that. First of all, we are going to start to look at like what due diligence period. I call the due diligence due diligence period. The due diligence period consists of this. If you are an existing business owner, or if you are starting from scratch and you are looking at creating a business plan, this is where we start to ask yourself, what's it going to cost me to deliver this product? Now, this can be a challenge when you don't have physical cost already to look at, but you can kind of estimate what that's going to be. So when we come to pricing your actual, we'll take the example of a personal trainer. When we look at the top shelf offer, the one-on-one, we know what we could probably make if we worked for someone else and what that standard cut would be. Now, that's number one. But number two is going to be what would it be for me to actually rent a space, pay my utilities, and how much would it cost me to actually have like per day, I would say, that's how I would figure it out. We're looking at data of like to have how many clients would I have to have for that scenario and what would it cost per session so that I know that what I need to charge as a very baseline plus profit plus taxes, all of this kind of stuff. So we want to start to really think about this, not just pick an arbitrary number, such as like, hey, if I worked for this person as a personal trainer, I would be paid $100 an hour and I would take 50% of that. So $50 an hour. And I'm just going to throw out that I'm $100 an hour, not even looking at what it's going to cost me to do that. That is not doing your due diligence. So we're looking at like, what does it cost me to deliver my product or service? Now we're going to start part two of due diligence is, and like I said, it's a two-part process for due diligence, in my opinion, when it comes to pricing. Number one is like, what does it cost me to deliver this service? And number two is what is, and when I say cost, it should be from both a time and money perspective, right? So it'd be like, hey, I can deliver a 60-minute, I deliver my sessions in 60-minute increments. And here's what it costs. If it's a group, then it costs this way. And I have a baseline of what I'm figuring that number out. The second part of the due diligence is going to be looking around your market. Now, I have a lot of clients that push back on this one because they don't want to compare what they are charging to other people. And this is where I love to bring up the example of quality versus quantity, which is super old school marketing. I like to say the Walmart, you can be the Walmart, which is competes on what? They compete on quantity and volume, right? So like cheap prices, lots of volume. And then you have like the Nordstroms of the world, right? So the Nordstroms of the world, they have higher quality product. They compete on a different element. They compete on quality. They want to offer, $100 t-shirt versus Walmart's got the $9.99 version. And you want to price and package your product based on that avatar, like we talked about at the beginning of that transformation you want them to have. But also like the price point is really critical here is that you do look around your market and see what other Walmarts, if you want to be Walmart, or Nordstroms are out there in my market. I like to say a 50-mile radius. I like to do if you have a geographical location. If you don't have a geographical location, then you're looking at other venues, e-commerce sites that offer a similar product or service that you are offering as well. That doesn't mean you're going to use the same packaging because you are already getting ninja technique on how to do the packaging. And then you're going to ask, do with this concept is like, you're going to start to look at like some of the prices. And when it comes to, like I said, personal training, like I look around, if the Nordstrom of personal training in this area is probably like a private one-on-one trainer, and or like, in my opinion, is like the Lifetime Fitness, right? So where it's like Lifetime Fitness is 150 to sometimes 250 an hour for a training session. But then you can go down to the YMCA. And this is the most ironic part. I belong to both. I belong to the YMCA and Lifetime, right? And YMCA I have because it's very convenient. It's extremely cheap. And I go in there a lot of times and I do cardio, because it's across the street from my house. So, but my Lifetime membership and my YMCA membership are two very different prices. And they offer two very different services. Lifetime's the Nordstrom, YMCA is going to be your your Walmart. Both have their value in my specific training plan. So why I'm saying this is that that's a great example of the quality versus the quantity, right? So the quantity I get from the YMCA is, I also bring my daughter there for classes. I'm there actually more now than I am at Lifetime, but the quality of the training I get at Lifetime is much higher, right? And it's at a premium price. So the pricing at the YMCA for a personal trainer is like $40 to $60. So we're talking like way less than the Lifetime typical thing. And then, like I said, I know a lot of people that use personal private one-on-one trainers that are at even a higher pricing model, because they are catering to a very specific audience and they give premium pricing to clients that are premium, pay up front, commit to 3 times a week, like that sort of thing. So they are able to give their pricing model a lot more conducive. So you want to start to really look at like, what's my due diligence in terms of what it costs me to deliver this product? And then what's my due diligence that I need to look around at similar pricing models in my market. And the reason you want to look around at other pricing models in your market is not to compare yourself and not to match or beat their pricing, especially if you want to compete on quality, right? So this is part of making your package pretty and pricing it powerfully that gets us to the golden goose question, which I'm about to cover now. I love to call this the golden goose question because it's like, what do I want to this offer to earn so I can stop trading time for dollars and start buying back my time? So, this exercise, when I do with clients, a lot of times it makes them really uncomfortable, if I'm being completely honest, because they'll say, like, "Hey, what do you want to earn off this specific offer?" Like, is this a six-figure offer? Is this for the year? Is this a six-figure in 3 months offer? Is this a feeder offer? Is this your intro cutie where you're not really concerned about it making more than 10 grand because it's just getting people into your list? But if you are looking to replace income, if you are looking to release the golden handcuffs of the job that you work 40 hours a week, but you want this side hustle to become your full-time gig and replace your income, then you need to decide, like, what do I need to take home for me to make this something that is not only powerful in its pricing model, but powerful for me in my family. And what is it going to help me get to in terms of growth? So, this is a really hard question, I think, that to ask. But one of the questions that I love to ask is, does this price point support my lifestyle or add stress to it? Reason being is that if it adds stress to it, then this is more of a side gig. This is more of a hobby. And if you are listening to Moms Making Dough, I know that a lot of you, that is your number one goal, is to turn a side hustle into a profitable business that can be scaled, not just keep it as a side hustle. So, um, this is where a lot of the mindset shift happens too, is that you want to be not get stuck on pricing. Don't ask people what they are willing to pay. Ask what results they crave and what that's worth to them. Because back to the personal training example, I was just talking about with one of my trainer friends this morning, and she was sharing that, like, she shared this amazing transformation a client that a client had for her. And I was like, "Oh my god, you should totally ask that client if you can share that." And I was like, does that client have any idea what she gave to her kids by totally changing her life from a fitness perspective? And I was thinking about it. I was like, man, I was like, those kids have no idea that their mom literally changed her health habits, changed her life. She's literally unrecognizable as a person. Um, and that you were the catalyst that helped her implement those changes. And could she put a price tag on that? And the answer is no, it is priceless. And it's also priceless to the next generation, her kids, because she's also teaching them healthier habits by altering her healthy habits herself. So really just digging in so deep and thinking about how you want to not only package it pretty, but price it powerfully. Thank you so much for joining us in this second module of our summer school series. I can't wait to hear what you think about it. And as always, please rate, review, and subscribe to Moms Making Dough, and share this episode with any other mompreneur you know that might just benefit from this information. And I'll see you next time on Moms Making Dough.